It's funny how a single sentence can make your entire world tilt on its axis. Not a dramatic sentence delivered during a breakup or a major life event, but something so casually cruel it redefines every interaction you've ever had with the people who are supposed to be your anchors. For me, that sentence was delivered over a shaky phone line, with a muffled sound of laughter and music in the background, confirming I wasn't just forgotten, I was deliberately, intentionally excluded. My name is Ethan, and for most of my life, I've been the family's resident fixer. Not the golden child. That was always Jason, my older brother. Jason was the one with the effortless charm, the quick wit that parents and relatives adored, the report cards that got pinned on the fridge, the athletic achievements that warranted proud boasts at Sunday dinners. I was the other one. The one who asked too many questions, who didn't play by the unspoken rules, who struggled in traditional academics, but could take apart a computer and put it back together blindfolded by the time I was 14. I was the one who messed up, who took the blame, who just didn't quite fit their mold of success. Yet, ironically, I was also the one everyone called when their technology went haywire, when furniture needed moving, when a car battery died, or when they needed help navigating some bureaucratic nightmare online. I was the family's unsung, often begrudged, infrastructure. Jason buying his first house was, predictably, a huge deal. The family group chat, which I usually just muted anyway, exploded with excitement. Pictures of the listing, debates about paint colors, Jason humble bragging about mortgage rates. My mother was ecstatic, posting daily counts down to closing day, framing the house as the pinnacle of Jason's golden life. I chimed in occasionally, offering genuine congratulations, even suggesting a good home inspector I knew. They mostly glossed over my messages, focusing on Jason and my parents back and forth. It was the usual dynamic, just amplified by a real estate transaction. What they didn't trumpet in the group chat was the part one played behind the scenes. Jason's credit wasn't as stellar as his report cards. Mine, however, was near perfect. The bank was hesitant on the loan for the house he wanted. My parents, desperate for their golden boy to have his golden home, were willing to help, but it wasn't enough. I don't know how they finally swallowed their pride enough to ask, but they did. They needed me to co-sign. It wasn't a small thing. It put my own financial future on the line. But they promised it was temporary, just to get them over the hump, and Jason would refinance as soon as he could. Like an idiot, fueled by some desperate hope for acceptance, I agreed. I didn't give them cash directly, but my signature on that loan was a significant part of the foundation that house was built on. Of course, none of that was mentioned publicly. Jason got all the credit for being a savvy young homeowner. The housewarming was on a Saturday about a month after they closed. I hadn't heard anything about it specifically, but figured an invite would come eventually. Maybe a casual text or mention in the group chat. Nothing. Saturday rolled around, and I was out running errands across town in the general direction of Jason's new place. As I got closer to his neighborhood, I started seeing cars parked everywhere, lining the street, even pulled up on lawns. I recognized familiar vehicles. My mom's SUV, my dad's sedan, Aunt Carol's ridiculous minivan, even my cousin Mark's beat-up truck. My stomach tightened. I drove slower as I approached Jason Street. And there it was. His yard was packed. People spilling out onto the driveway, music playing, balloons tied to the mailbox, even a bouncy house for the kids. It was a full-blown party. I saw faces I knew, family members, neighbors, people I'd grown up around. And I wasn't one of them. I pulled over a little way down the street, heart pounding. I checked my phone again. Texts, nothing. Calls, nothing. Family chat. The last post was Jason's smug selfie in front of the house with Mom, Dad, Aunt Carol, and a bunch of others. Caption, couldn't have done it without my crew. My crew, apparently, didn't include me. A wave of humiliation washed over me, quickly replaced by a cold, hard anger. I wasn't just forgotten. I was actively excluded from a major family event happening 30 yards away. Sitting there felt like I was invisible, or worse, intentionally quarantined. I took a deep breath. I wasn't going to just show up and make a scene, but I wasn't going to let it slide either. I had to call, not to beg for an invite, but to make them say it, to hear the justification for this level of cruelty. I dialed Jason's number. He answered quickly, the music and chatter loud behind him. Yeah, he said, sounding rushed, like he was annoyed I was interrupting the fun. Hey, Jason, I said, keeping my voice level. I'm just driving by, saw all the cars. Didn't realize you guys were having a thing today. Am I supposed to be there? There was a beat of silence, long enough to be deafening over the party noise. Then his voice changed, losing the rush and becoming deliberately cold, cutting. Why on earth would we invite you, Ethan? He said, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. Honestly, you're the last person we'd want here. You bring everyone down. You just mess everything up. My breath hitched. Before I could even respond, I heard my mother's voice from the background, loud and clear, not even trying to whisper. Her tone was pure contempt. He's right, Jason. Don't waste your breath. This house, this new start, it's not for burdens like him. You're just a constant disappointment, Ethan. Stay away. Jason hung up, just like that. Click. I sat there in my car, engine idling, phone in my hand. The music from the party seemed louder now, mocking me. My chest felt tight, like I couldn't get enough air. My hands were shaking, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles were white. It wasn't sadness I felt first, or even just hurt. It was a searing, burning humiliation and rage. They saw me. They knew I was there. And not only did they not invite me, but when I called, they used it as an opportunity to verbally assault me, call me names they'd whispered for years, and declare I didn't belong in the very house my signature had helped secure. The sheer, breathtaking cruelty of it. This house isn't for burdens like him, and the house I helped get them. I didn't cry. The anger was too hot for tears. It felt like a switch flipped inside me. Years of being the fixer, the blamed one, the disappointment, the scapegoat. It all converged in that moment. Every time Jason got credit for my work, every time I was grounded for something he did, every time my parents sighed and shook their heads at my life choices while fawning over his. It wasn't just a pattern. It was a deliberate, coordinated effort to keep me down, to make me feel less than. I pulled back onto the road and drove. Not home. I just drove. Ended up sitting in a gas station parking lot for what felt like hours, scrolling through my phone aimlessly, replaying the conversation, letting the rage simmer. I texted my dad. Did you guys forget to invite me? No response. I texted my mom what she said. The message stayed on read. I called Sam, my best friend, but he was out of town. Just as well. I wasn't sure I could even articulate the depth of the rot I just witnessed. Later that night, I checked social media again. The party was in full swing in the photos and videos. My mom hugging Jason, beaming. Jason raising a glass with my dad, looking like the king of the world. Aunt Carol laughing loudly in the background of one video. Cousin Mark looking slightly awkward in another. They were a picture-perfect family, celebrating in the home I'd helped them buy, pretending I didn't exist. And they knew I'd been there. They knew. That's when I sent the text. To Jason and my mom. Simple, direct, fueled by everything I'd held in for decades. Say less. You said enough. I won't forget this. And I'll make sure you spend a long time regretting those words. I blocked both their numbers immediately after sending it. I didn't want their response. I didn't want their weak excuses or their attempts to rug sweep. I wanted them to sit with it. Talking to Sam the next day helped solidify things. I laid out years of grievances. The time Jason crashed Mom's car and blamed me. The time I spent 3 weekends cleaning out the disaster of garage and got criticized for missing a spot, while Jason mowed the lawn once and got praised for weeks. The constant microaggressions, the financial help they took for granted. Sam listened, outraged on my behalf. Hearing him confirm that this wasn't normal, that my anger was justified, hardened my resolve. I was done being their whipping boy, their free labor, their convenient scapegoat. I was done being a burden while carrying all their weight. I knew their systems. I knew their passwords. I knew their routines. I knew the chaotic mess of accounts, services, and smart devices they relied on me to manage because they were too lazy or incompetent to learn. They wanted to call me worthless? Fine. I would show them exactly how much value I brought and what happens when it's suddenly withdrawn. This wasn't going to be a simple case of ignoring their calls. This was going to be a calculated demonstration, a dismantling. The weeks that followed were quiet from my end. I didn't reach out. I didn't respond. I just let the silence hang. From their end, the initial reaction seemed to be annoyance, then mild panic. Jason's first text came a few days later, before he realized I'd blocked him. A casual, "Hey man, my Wi-Fi is acting weird again. Can you take a look?" Ignored. Then another about his smart thermostat. Ignored. Then a slightly more urgent one about his garage door opener not syncing. Still ignored. My mother's attempts were more manipulative. Texting in the family group chat, which I could still see, just not reply to about how stressful things are and family should stick together. Passive-aggressive posts about gratitude. Eventually, direct text to me. "Your brother needs your help, Ethan. Are you really going to abandon him? Things are stressful enough without you making it worse." I left her on read for the first time in my life. It felt surprisingly good. About 2 weeks after the housewarming, Aunt Carol cornered me at a distant cousin's baby shower. One of those family obligations I usually dreaded but attended to avoid more drama. "Ethan," she started, putting a hand on my arm, her voice dripping with faux concern. "Your mother tells me you're giving Jason the cold shoulder. That's not like you. Families help each other, especially when Jason is settling into his new home. It's such a stressful time for him." "Stressful time?" I asked, keeping my voice low and steady. "He just had a housewarming party with everyone he knows. I wouldn't exactly call that stressful." Aunt Carol's smile tightened. "Well, yes, that was lovely, wasn't it? Such a shame you couldn't make it." A clear jab. She continued, leaning in slightly. "Your mother said, well, she was worried you might have caused a scene, given how you've been. It was for the best, darling, truly." The casual way she delivered my mother's poisonous narrative, as if it were a simple fact, made that cold rage resurface. "A scene," I repeated, raising an eyebrow. "Because I called asking why I wasn't invited? What exactly about that says scene, Aunt Carol? Or is the scene just that I dared to point out the obvious exclusion?" I paused, looking her dead in the eye. "And given how I've been, how exactly have I been, Aunt Carol? Too busy fixing everyone's problems while they talk behind my back and call me names?" She recoiled slightly, her smile gone. "Now, Ethan, there's no need for that tone. We just want everyone to get along." "Do you?" I challenged softly. "Because from where I'm standing, getting along in this family means I keep my head down, fix everyone's problems for free, take the blame when things go wrong, and express endless gratitude for being occasionally thrown a bone. Anything less than that is apparently making a scene or being a disappointment." I looked pointedly around the room. "You can tell Mom and Jason that the free tech support and personal assistant service is officially closed. They call me a burden. Burdens don't help. Simple as that." I walked away, leaving her speechless. It felt good. Not just the defiance, but the control. I wasn't yelling, I was stating facts. A couple of days later, I got a text from Sarah, Jason's wife. "Hey Ethan, really sorry to bother you, but Jason is completely stumped with the smart lock on the back door. It's not recognizing my code anymore, and he can't figure out how to reset it. He said you set it up. Could you possibly walk us through it?" Sarah was usually nice, stayed out of the family drama. But she was married to Jason now, part of that unit. This was her being inconvenienced. "Hey Sarah," I texted back. "Sorry, I'm not really doing tech support for the family anymore. Jason set up that system. He should be able to figure it out." A little lie, a little jab. I knew I set up the bulk of it. She sent back a longer text about how things are just really stressful, and she's trying to keep the peace. I didn't respond. Keeping the peace didn't fall on my shoulders anymore. During this time, I was actively planning Phase 2. My list of their dependencies was long. It wasn't just tech. It was bill payments I'd automated for them, online accounts I managed, subscriptions tied to my email or credit card that they were supposed to reimburse me for, eventually access to services I'd set up using my credentials because those were too complicated. And underpinning it all, the knowledge of their systems, their passwords, their sheer inability to function without me. The loan I co-signed. Jason was supposed to refinance months ago. He hadn't. I knew, because I still got the occasional notification about the mortgage. That house wasn't just his golden achievement. It was also a liability I shared. Them calling me a burden in the house my credit helped buy was the ultimate slap in the face. My leverage wasn't just convenience. It was potentially hitting them financially. I started small, but impactful. Jason's smart home wasn't just for convenience. It controlled security cameras, lighting schedules that made the house look occupied, automated heating and cooling. I didn't disable it completely, just made it unreliable. Lights would turn on or off at random times. The thermostat would crank the heat in the middle of the night or shut off the AC during the day. The garage door would sometimes refuse to open or close via the app, enough to be constantly annoying, make them feel like the house was haunted or broken, forcing them to use manual overrides, which they barely knew how to do. Next, the HOA. Jason's neighborhood had a notoriously strict homeowners association. I had helped him navigate their confusing online portal and set up his account. He hadn't changed the password. I started subtly flagging violations I knew existed, but were minor enough they might overlook. Trash, cans left out too long. A small patch of dead grass, which, ironically, Jason was too lazy to fix. A minor fence repair needed in the backyard. I didn't invent things. I just made sure existing, ignored issues were brought to the HOA's attention, strategically timing reports to get them maximum scrutiny. The violation notices started arriving. Then the fines. I also targeted specific online services. My mother had a subscription to some genealogy service she was obsessed with, paid for via an account I managed. I changed the password. She couldn't access her precious family tree research. Jason used a specific cloud storage service for work files. I disrupted his auto-sync, causing errors and delays. Not deleting anything, just making access and functionality incredibly frustrating. Their calls and texts escalated rapidly. Annoyance turned to anger, then confusion, then frustration. The damn lights are doing it again. My grass letter. What the hell? Mom's genealogy thing is broken. Can you fix it? Jason started leaving angry voicemails. My mother called constantly, sometimes sounding stressed, sometimes accusatory. I know you're doing this, Ethan. This isn't funny. I still didn't answer most calls. When I did reply to a text, it was short, cryptic, unhelpful. Sounds like a Jason problem. Maybe read the HOA rules. Have you tried calling customer support? My calm, detached responses seemed to infuriate them more than yelling back would have. They were used to me either fixing things or having a meltdown. They didn't know how to deal with this quiet, strategic resistance. Cousin Mark texted me privately. Dude, Jason is losing it about his house stuff. And Aunt Carol is nonstop complaining about your mom being stressed. What's going on? I kept my response vague, just saying I wasn't their go-to guy anymore. Mark's text confirmed the chaos was spreading and impacting the wider family circle, exactly as I intended. Then came the afternoon Jason showed up at my apartment without calling. I saw him through the peephole, face red, holding his phone like it was about to self-destruct. I opened the door just a crack. You need to fix my house, Ethan, he demanded, his voice tight with frustration and anger. Nothing works. The lights, the garage, the damn internet keeps cutting out. Mom says you're doing something. I'm not your fixer, Jason, I said, leaning against the door, blocking his entry. My voice was calm, controlled, which seemed to enrage him further. Don't play stupid, he yelled. This is all you. Turn it back on. Fix the systems. He put a hand on the door, trying to push it open. I pushed back firmly. Get off my porch, Jason. He shoved my shoulder hard. You're ruining everything. You always do this. You make everything about you. That did it. The years of blame, condensed into that one hypocritical sentence. Ruin everything? I repeated, a cold edge in my voice. Like how you ruined Mom's car and let me take the blame. Or how you took credit for the project I actually did at Dad's company. Or how you let me co-sign your mortgage because you couldn't get approved on your own. His eyes widened slightly. He hadn't expected me to bring that up. I leaned closer, voice dropping to a dangerous level. You want to talk about ruining things? About who makes things about them. You call me a worthless burden in the house my credit helped you buy. You told me that house wasn't for people like me. You want to know what else I know about you, Jason? About Mom? About how you really operate behind that golden boy facade. I paused, letting the implication hang heavy in the air. I wasn't just talking about tech anymore. I was talking about the secrets, the lies, the foundations of their carefully constructed image. Be very, very careful what you demand next. This is just the smart home. I know more than you think I do. He stared at me, speechless for a second, the anger warring with sudden fear. I used the moment to slam the door shut. I heard him outside, pacing, muttering, before finally storming away. Later that night, my mother called. From my dad's phone. I answered. Her voice was thick, alternating between pleading and accusation. "Ethan, please. Stop this. What are you doing? Your brother is distraught. The HOA is threatening fines. Nothing works. You're ruining everything." "Ruin everything?" I echoed, using Jason's earlier line against her. "Funny, that's what you guys said I always do." "We didn't mean it," she wailed. "It was said in the heat of the moment. You weren't supposed to be there. You made things awkward." "Awkward?" I laughed, a harsh, humorless sound. Being called a worthless burden and a disappointment in the house I helped Jason get is awkward. Is that really what you call it? This was supposed to be Jason's perfect start, she cried. His house. You can't do this. His house. I repeated, my voice sharp. You mean the one I co-signed for because his credit wasn't good enough? The one you said wasn't for mistakes like me. I leaned into the phone, delivering the line I prepared. You want to know what a mistake is, Mom? A mistake is thinking you can treat people like garbage for years, use them up, throw them away, and then expect them to keep fixing the mess you created. And a bigger mistake? I know exactly what you are, and I know how much you have to lose. Silence on the line. A stunned silence. Then my mother started sobbing, incoherent apologies mixed with accusations. We didn't mean it. Please, tell us how to fix it. I hung up. The begging has been nonstop since then. Calls, texts, voicemails. From Mom, from Jason, even awkward, stilted messages from Dad, trying to mediate. Sarah is texting, sounding utterly exhausted and desperate. Ethan, please, Jason is a wreck. The house is a disaster. The fines are adding up. We need help. Their pleas are all about the consequences they're facing, never about the years of abuse that led to this. They regret the mess, not the mistreatment. They want their fixer back, not their family member. We didn't mean it, is their constant refrain. But they did. They meant it for years in 1,000 different ways. I haven't decided what comes next. Part of me wants to let them twist in the wind, to experience the full weight of the incompetence they cultivated and the reliance they took for granted. Part of me is exhausted and just wants peace. But I know I can never go back to being the invisible man, the scapegoat, the unpaid servant. They wanted to show me what a mistake I was. Instead, I showed them what life looks like when you discard the person holding everything together. They're finally seeing my value, not because they appreciate me, but because they desperately need me. And that, in itself, is its own form of twisted justice. I don't know if reconciliation is possible, or if I even want it. But I'm not their burden anymore, and I'm certainly not their mistake. The calls keep coming. I just let them ring.